Today, I've got a list of my top 10 favorite blind buy movies on physical media. So let's rock this. Hey everyone, how you doing? Welcome back. I'm Fuzz, and today I'm talking about my favorite blind buy releases on 4K and Blu-ray. Well, mostly 4K, but I do have a few Blu-rays in the mix as well. Now, this is kind of a sequel video in a way. Last month I did a video on my biggest blind buy regrets on physical media, and you guys seem to really dig that video. But I figured if I'm going to approach a topic like this from the more negative side of the coin, then it makes sense that I should also do the inverse, right? And hit the positive side of the coin as well, go over all my favorite blind buys. And that's exactly what I'm doing here today. I've got a list of my top 10 favorite blind buy movies ever on physical media. Now, if you've been a regular viewer of the channel for a while, keep in mind most of these titles are going to be titles that you've probably heard me mention at least briefly in passing on this channel in the past, because after all, talking about my favorite physical media releases of the movies I love, that is what I do on this channel. So, and that's especially true with blind buys, right? Usually when I get a new blind buy that I'm pretty excited about, I usually try to find a way to work it into the channel content somehow. So some of the titles I'm talking about today may not really be much of a surprise to those of you who are longtime viewers and know me and the channel pretty well. Okay, so no long intro today. I am raring to go, so let's just get right into this list. Okay, so starting off at number 10, we have a William Friedkin film here on 4K. I'm talking about To Live and Die in LA. Excellent film and a great looking 4K here from Kino Lorber. They always do great work, and you know, this was certainly no exception. Now, this is a funny thing about this movie is I remember this movie when it first came out back in the 80s. I remember it being in the theaters. I remember it playing on cable TV, and but for some reason I never got around to watching it for the first time until this 4K release came out. I even had the soundtrack for this when I was a kid because I loved the title track, To Live and Die in LA, the Wang Chung song. I loved it. And so I remember I had the soundtrack for this film on cassette tape back in the 80s, but I had never seen the film. So, you know, I was just a fan of the song and a fan of Wang Chung at the time. And I guess the main reason I was kind of a late bloomer on this film is because I was kind of a late bloomer on William Friedkin's work in general. Great director, legendary director, of course, of The Exorcist and The French Connection. And prior to this, those were the only two William Friedkin movies I'd ever seen. And I liked the movies. But I had never really dug into the rest of his career to see what other kind of films he had done. And I heard a lot of good things about this film. A lot of people said it was a really good film, especially around the time that the announcement that this was coming out came out. A lot of people were talking it up and were really excited to see this one get a 4K release. So, you know, I decided to give it a shot. And it's actually kind of gotten me more into William Friedkin, because I hadn't really explored his catalog that closely. And I'd heard great things about this from a lot of fellow collectors, so I was like, yeah, I definitely got to give this a try. And I am so glad I did. This turned out to be an awesome film. It's about a Secret Service agent. Secret Service agent's going after this counterfeiter, played by Willem Dafoe. It's just a really well done movie. It's kind of gritty and raw, but it's got some style as well. Great stylization in this film. I really enjoyed it. And so yeah, this actually caused me to look into Friedkin's work a little bit more. And in fact, I actually have another Friedkin film later on in this list in the honorable mentions section once I get done with my top 10 here. But yeah, I've kind of become a fan of Friedkin's work in the last year or two. I can't remember when this came out, last year sometime, or has it been 2 years now? I don't remember, but after seeing this, it made me want to go dive in deeper to William Friedkin's work and check out some of his other films as well. So that's why this was a pretty significant release for me. It really kicked up the whole Friedkin vibe in my world. And I just love this movie. It's the kind of movie that you can really, there's quite a bit to chew on, right? And it may not even hit you right away that it's as good of a movie as it actually is. In fact, I loved it when I first watched it, But then after sitting on it for a couple days after I watched it and kind of processing what I had seen, it just it stuck with me. And I found that I liked the film even more than I originally thought I did when I first watched it. So just a great release, great looking restoration, and just a great film. So for my number 10, To Live and Die in LA. Okay, next up from number 9, I have a 1983 film for you here on Blu-ray. I am talking about Revenge of the Ninja, an old Canon Films movie. This is a Kino Lorber release, just came out a few months ago. Well, actually, they had released this film on Blu-ray previously, but a number of years ago, and then just this year, they actually put a new release out with a better encode. I guess the previous Blu-ray had been on a BD25 disc, so they used a BD50 disc, a dual layer disc for this particular Blu-ray. And of course, you got a slipcover here, a new slipcover, and that's the main reason I bought it, because I had purchased that previous Blu-ray before, and then I double dipped because I really wanted this slipcover. Yeah, Revenge of the Ninja. I haven't really, up until discovering Canon Films, I hadn't really gotten into a whole lot of ninja movies before, or martial arts in general, right? That's kind of a fairly new subgenre for me, just within the last year or two. And I gotta tell you, this is one of my favorite ninja type movies I've ever seen. I haven't seen that many so far, but of the ones I've seen, this one was such an enjoyable ride. I had so much fun with this. I was really excited about it when I first got it, and feeling like, yeah, I am so glad I picked this up. I want to see more stuff like this. That was my thought process at the time. So, but really good movie. Sho Kosugi's a pretty impressive guy. His skills are definitely top notch. But yeah, I just had a lot of fun with this. I've really been getting into the ninja and martial arts subgenre, and enjoying some of the films I've encountered. Of course, this is the second in a ninja series, or what is often referred to as the Ninja Trilogy. Enter the Ninja being the first one, Revenge of the Ninja being the second one, and of course, Ninja 3 Domination is the third in the Ninja Trilogy. But this is my favorite out of that trilogy. I think it's the best one by far. Even though I do like Ninja Domination, it's way out there, but this one is just, I think of the 3 movies, this one is very much the best one of the group. So if you're anything like me, if you're a fan of action films, but maybe you're a little bit new to the martial arts or ninja subgenre, then I would definitely recommend checking this one out. It's just so much fun. It really is just classic, cheesy 80s action that is a hell of a lot of fun. So if by some chance you've never seen this one, it is an absolute blast. So much fun, just a great ride all the way around. So yeah, Revenge of the Ninja. Moving right along to my number 8, we've got a Scream Factory 4K release here. The Scream Factory, yes it is. I'm talking about Upgrade, directed by Leigh Whannell. I had so much fun with this, an absolute blast. It's kind of a psychological thriller meets like a revenge flick with a sci-fi component as well, like a technological science fiction component as well. And yeah, just a fun, suspenseful ride. I gotta say, I wasn't really familiar with the cast of this movie. The lead actor, Logan Marshall, I wasn't familiar with him. I don't think I've ever seen him in anything, but it sounded like an interesting story, so I thought I'd give it a chance. I heard a lot of people saying this was a really fun movie, and boy, they weren't wrong. I am so glad I picked this up on 4K because it really is a total blast. It kicks in pretty quickly. And it keeps going the whole way. It's a very compelling film. It holds your attention the whole way. And I don't want to say too much here about the story, but you can read the synopsis if you're interested. And I was really glad that I picked this up and added it to my collection. The 4K looks great. Now, you don't get a slipcover with this one, just for those wondering. I got this, I think, when it first came out. I think I might have gotten this on release day when it was first released, and it didn't come with a slipcover. Scream Factory, Shout Studios, they sometimes do that. They don't put slipcovers with everything. Sometimes they'll put out a release with no slipcover at all. And this was one such release. But of course, it's not the end of the world. I'm just happy to have this in my collection because it really did turn out to just be an awesome movie that I had so much fun with. So if you're a fan of like thrillers and revenge films and action and sci-fi kind of all rolled into one, you really can't go wrong with something like this. It's an excellent film. So yeah, Upgrade. All right, next up, we've got a 2021 film here that was a Vinegar Syndrome release. And one of my absolute favorite blind buys ever from Vinegar Syndrome. I've definitely mentioned this one on the channel before, but it's been a while. So I'm talking about the movie Censor. This is a Blu-ray, not a 4K. And this is a really good film. Kind of like a, I guess you could call it kind of a slow burn horror. And there's kind of a psychological mystery, suspense, psychological thriller, mystery, suspense. It very much is a slow burn, but the payoffs later on in the film are a lot of fun. They really are. And essentially the film is about a UK film censor back in the 1980s. And she sees something when she's like reviewing films. She comes across something that really messes with her and kind of sets this whole mystery in motion. And I don't want to say too much about that, but it really is a fun film, very intriguing, very compelling. And yeah, I was all smiles when I was watching it. I absolutely love this film. Oh, also, it was this is the directorial debut, the first film from a director named Prano Bailey Bond. And I'm definitely going to be interested to see what else this director does. In fact, I don't know if she's already released other films since then or not. I haven't really looked into it, but thinking about it now, while I'm making this video, I'm going to go check afterwards and see if she has made any other films, because I was so impressed with this one that I definitely want to see what she does next. So now let me show you the cool thing about this, get into packaging a little bit here, just because I always like to show this one off because it's a great package. You get a nice rigid hard box here, and I'll show you the art on the back there. Very cool art. Right? And then you got, there's actually films within the film, right? So there's actually a slipcover that has movie art for each of the films within the film. Beastman and Asunder here. And look at that gorgeous slipcover, you know, with the embossing and the spot gloss. I mean, that is just super cool stuff. And now, I'll be honest, I don't think you can get this deluxe package anymore. You might just only be able to get the Blu-ray. Vinegar Syndrome may have standard edition Blu-rays like this available, but I'm pretty sure the nice rigid deluxe box set edition has been long sold out for some time. So, but it's a great movie, and I would highly recommend it for anybody who likes kind of slow burn horror, psychological thrillers, mysteries. This, I think you might enjoy this one. I certainly did. So yeah, that's my number 7 here, Censor. And then for my number 6, we have another Vinegar Syndrome release. This is a Blu-ray. Talking about righting wrongs here. This is a 1986 film, and starring Yen Bu and Cynthia Rothrock. It's a kind of a martial arts crime drama, crime action film. A hell of a lot of fun. I just, you know, I haven't seen that many martial arts films, right? I've been getting into them and gradually adding a few to my collection. But, you know, in the grand scheme of things, I mean, there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of films out there I haven't seen. So I still consider myself very much a newbie to the genre. But I got to tell you, of the martial arts films I've seen, this is one of my favorites. It is so much fun, a thoroughly entertaining ride, and yeah, you just can't go wrong with something like this. If you're new to the martial arts subgenre, if you're thinking about getting into martial arts movies, this is a good place to start. And yeah, it really is. It's just a well-done film and just a ton of fun all the way around. Let's look at the packaging. Vinegar Syndrome, of course, always does great packaging. We got a nice rigid hard box. I don't know if this edition is still available or if it's just down to the standard edition. This edition might have sold out, but it's possible you might still be able to get it. I haven't really looked. I didn't think to look before I made this video, but nice rigid hard box here, what I call the chunky box, right? And just some really cool stuff there. Here, let's take a look at the slipcover. I love this slipcover. It's awesome. Check that out. Embossed and spot gloss on the text there. Very cool stuff. You got to love that art. Just really vibrant and colorful looking. And then you get a cool little book there as well. Probably, I don't know, maybe, I don't know, 30, 40 pages. Double-sided art on the book, or double covers, right? You got the front cover and then the back cover. Again, just so colorful, so vibrant looking. Just the artwork on this stuff is just awesome. You know, you just can't go wrong with Vinegar Syndrome. You know, when they put out a release, they do it right, right? So, so yeah, if you've never seen Righting Wrongs, I would highly recommend it, especially if you're looking to get into martial arts, like crime drama type films. So yeah, if you've never seen this one, definitely give it a try. Righting Wrongs for my number 6. By the way, if you're enjoying the content on this channel, do me a favor and please consider subscribing to the channel. And if you do, don't forget to activate that notification bell as well, so that you can be alerted whenever I'm posting videos that you might dig. Also, don't forget to like the video as well. It really does help with the algorithm and the channel's visibility out there on YouTube. Thanks so much for your support, guys. I really appreciate it. Okay, and moving right along, another Vinegar Syndrome release here. I didn't plan it this way, it just kind of worked out this way, but yet another Vinegar Syndrome release. We've got a horror movie for you here for this entry. I'm talking about From Beyond on 4K, directed by the great Stuart Gordon. And this has got a great cast. You got Jeffrey Combs, you got Barbara Crampton, you got Ken Faree, if I'm pronouncing his name right, from, of course, Dawn of the Dead. Yeah, really, really cool film. And damn, does this 4K look good. I mean, all the practical effects really kind of glisten and sparkle and look nice and gooey. And yeah, this is such an awesome film. I just had a blast with it. And, you know, I was watching this for the first time and it made me think, you know, this is the kind of horror film I want to see more of. You know, I got to get more movies like this. And that's often, you know, the kind of reaction I have to a lot of my favorite blind buys. You know, when I'm watching them for the first time, I get excited. You know, I get a little charge. And it makes me think, yeah, I got to get more movies like this, right? So this was one of those movies and really had a blast with it. No, the packaging's pretty... nothing too crazy on that. You just get a slipcover. The slipcover, of course, is beautiful. Vinegar Syndrome always offering beautiful slipcovers with their releases. And then, of course, you can get this. Now, you can't get the slipcover anymore, I don't think, unless you like take to the secondary market on eBay. I think you can only get probably this standard edition release. But it should still be available out there. And yeah, the restoration is excellent. You've also got like a feature-length retrospective documentary on here, which is really good, and some other bonus features as well, but just an awesome release. So if you've never seen this one, I would highly recommend it. If you're a horror fan, that is, and you've never seen this one, I would definitely recommend it. If you were a fan of other Stuart Gordon movies like Reanimator or Castle Freak, this is definitely one to check out. This may be up there in contention for my favorite Stuart Gordon movie. It's probably between this and Reanimator, but yeah, this is a really good one. So From Beyond from Vinegar Syndrome. Okay, next up we've got a movie that I feel like I've talked about fairly recently, like within the last couple months. I might have mentioned this in a collection update or something, but I know I've mentioned this one before. I'm talking about The Guest on 4K. This is from Second Sight Films. This is a 2014 movie, and starring Dan Stevens and Micah Monroe. And it's one of these nice, you know, super thick, chunky boxes. Second Sight, of course, makes the best chunky boxes out there, right? And I think I alluded to that last time I talked about this, but this is such a good movie. I had so much fun with this. You know, I know it's kind of weird to blind buy a big chunky box like this without having seen it, but I had just heard so many good things about it that, and you know, I read the synopsis and it looked like it would be right up my alley. So I took a chance on it, and boy, it paid off. I didn't have any regrets at all. This film had me locked in right from the beginning, super compelling, super engaging, and it kept my attention the whole way through. It was just, I was all smiles when I was watching this because it was so damn good. And I don't even know exactly how to describe this. It's, I guess you could call it a bit of a genre mashup. It's more definitely along the lines of like a psychological thriller, but it's got elements of action in it. It's certainly got a mystery component to it. It's got elements of horror in it. And yeah, it's just a really good film. And I don't want to say too much about it because I don't want to give anything away. But it's one of those films where, as I was watching it, I was getting excited. I was like, damn, I'm so glad I got this. This is so cool. You know, I mean, it's that kind of release, right? That kind of movie. For me personally, I just got really charged up about it and was like, damn, this is such a good movie. I mean, when you have those kind of moments with the blind buy, it just makes it all worthwhile, right? I mean, that's why we blind buy. For moments like this. And that's pretty much the running theme with most of the movies on this list. So they all give me that kind of excitement where you're just like, dang, I am so glad I got this movie, right? Well, this was definitely one of those types of movies for me. Yeah, I don't know what else I could say about this. Other than just, I highly recommend you check it out. And yeah, a lot of fun. So The Guest for my number 4. Okay, next up for my number 3. This is one I've talked about, I think, a few times, at least a couple times on the channel before. And I'm talking about Pumpkinhead from Scream Factory, 4K release from Scream Factory. Just an awesome movie. And I don't want to say too much about this right now because I'm going to be doing some horror content in the coming weeks as we move into spooky season here. So I don't want to get too much into this. I have a feeling this one will come back up in the near future. But you got Lance Henriksen here. I mean, you just can't go wrong with Lance. Am I right? He rules. And directed by the great Stan Winston. So, I mean, talk about bona fides. Just those two people alone should be everything you need to know, right? But it's really, really great creature flick. And I just absolutely love it. So, and in fact, it's actually kind of approaching my list of top horror movies of all time. It's definitely up there for me. It's just such a fun film. So, but I'm not going to say too much about it right now. I'm sure I'm going to be talking about it more in the future. So, but Pumpkinhead for my number 3. And for my number 2, we've got The Beekeeper, Jason Statham. I did actually a little 4K takeaway video on this, so if you want to hear my thoughts on this one in more detail, I did my own my version of a 4K review for this, so make sure you check out that video, and I'll also put a link to it in the description below, so you can check it out. But this was a blast. I had so much fun with it. I'm not even going to say that much about it because I have spent so much time talking about this previously a few months ago. So, but check out my 4K takeaways on this. It is really just a badass action film. You know, I feel like they don't make action films like this as much anymore. And that's why I really liked it. That's why it resonated with me, because it felt like almost like an old school 90s action film when I was watching it. And that's what I loved about it. And totally entertaining. Another one of those films where it catches your attention right from the beginning and you're off and running and it holds your attention the whole movie. Just an absolute blast. So if you've never seen The Beekeeper, I'd highly recommend it. All right, and then for my number 1, I've got another horror film here that I'm probably not going to get into too much detail on because of spooky season right around the corner, and I have a feeling this is definitely going to come up again. I'm talking about The Blob. I love this movie. It is like the perfect B drive-in movie experience, right? It like totally took me back to the whole drive-in theater vibe when I was watching this. And I got really excited when I was checking this out for the first time. I was like, yeah, this is one I got to get more movies like this, right? It made me want to get more movies like this because it was so much fun. Now, I know this is kind of a classic 1988 film. This is just one of those films I had never gotten around to seeing for all these years, right? I was certainly well aware of it, but for whatever reason, I never watched it for the first time until this 4K release came out. And by the way, this 4K looks amazing. It really does. The practical effects look awesome. The blob looks, I mean, the colors are awesome. They really pop, and really vibrant looking, and just an amazing looking picture on this. But it was just such a fun film. It was a pleasant surprise. I mean, it's not like I went into it thinking I wasn't going to like it. I assumed I probably would, but I ended up liking it so much more than even I thought I was going to. And so just a lot of fun. So if you've never seen The Blob, you definitely can't go wrong with something like this, especially if you're into horror movies and creature flicks and that sort of thing. So yeah, for my number one, The Blob. Okay, so that about wraps it up for my top 10 list. But of course, I also have a few honorable mentions, as usual, to throw in the mix as well. And the first of which is a 1977 film, Sorcerer. This was the other William Friedkin film that I mentioned earlier was going to be on this list. And this is an excellent film starring Roy Scheider. I don't know how to explain this. It's kind of I guess it's kind of a jungle adventure. It's definitely a bit of a thriller as well. These guys basically have to transport, I think, a couple truckloads of nitroglycerin across South American jungle. And it's very suspenseful, definitely some action as well. And yeah, it's kind of a thriller as well. And it's a really good movie, really good movie. After seeing To Live and Die in LA, that got me kind of pumped up about William Friedkin, made me want to kind of dive into his work a little bit more and check out some of his other films. And this is awesome. It's just such a great film. So if you've never seen it, I would highly recommend checking it out. I won't say too much about it, but you just can't go wrong with William Friedkin and Roy Scheider. Am I right? So yeah, check out Sorcerer if you've never seen it. Then another great blind buy that I had actually been anticipating for some time. I had heard it was pretty good and I had never seen it, but I definitely pre-ordered it and had to get it in my collection. I'm talking about Duel. Steven Spielberg. This is the 4K steelbook I have of this. And yeah, I had never seen it. I had never gotten around to seeing this. It's like a 1971 movie, I believe. And yeah, this was so much fun, starring Dennis Weaver. It's another one of these psychological thrillers, kind of an action thriller type film. And it's just a lot of fun. I would put it up there as easily for me, a top 5 Steven Spielberg film for me. I tend to like earlier Steven Spielberg work. I tend to like his work from the 70s and 80s more than, his later films. And this one turned out to be every bit as good as I hoped it would be. And it was right in line with that 70s Spielberg vibe that I love so much, right? Spielberg in the 70s and early 80s, that was where it was at. As far as his career is concerned, that's when I think most of his best stuff came out, was those early years, those first, 15, 20 years or so of his career. By the way, this is an excellent looking 4K, incredible looking 4K, actually. And you definitely can't go wrong with something like that. If you're looking for a good restoration on 4K, yeah, this looks absolutely stellar. Just a fantastic release. So yeah, Duel on 4K, Steven Spielberg. And then another honorable mention, I've got to say something about this because I owe it to some of you out there for putting this film on my radar, right? I'm talking about Stallone in Nighthawks. What's funny is that I actually did a Sylvester Stallone like top 10 movies video at one point, right? I did my top 10 Sly Stallone movies. And at the time, when I made that video, I hadn't even seen this film. And now I'm wishing that I had seen it before I had made that video, because it most certainly probably would have ended up somewhere in my top 10. At the very least, it would have gotten an honorable mention. This is a great movie. Stallone, you got Rutger Hauer in this. Yeah, and I can't remember who it was that mentioned this. I think maybe Dwayne Sager. I think he was one of the people. Dwayne, if you're out there, I appreciate that. I think you were one of the people that recommended that I check this out. And you weren't wrong. You weren't wrong at all. Those of you who are recommending this to me, I thank you so much, because this is an awesome film. So much fun. Another thriller, right? Kind of a crime drama thriller. But yeah, Stallone just rules in this. And Rutger Hauer is, of course, always great. So yeah, I really enjoyed this. I wish I had seen this before I did my my Stallone top 10, because I definitely would have included this in that video. But at the same time, that's how I found out about this. In response to my top 10, a number of people indicated that this was on their list, right? And so I was like, well, shit, I got to get that. I got to go buy it. And I did. And I absolutely loved it. So yeah, Nighthawks, another good one there. And then finally, this isn't just a single movie. This is actually a box set. I'm kind of cheating for this one. But the whole blind buy on this box set was a nice surprise. Dealing with martial arts, crime drama, crime action films. I'm talking about this In the Line of Duty box set. You got Michelle Yeoh in a couple of the films. You got Cynthia Rothrock appearing in here. Some other people as well. This turned out to be a truly enjoyable set. I just had so much fun with it, and I was really glad I picked it up. And you get like 4 films here, right? You get like 4 films, all right? And you get a nice little book. And these are really cool. And I think out of the 4 films, I liked 3 of them quite a bit. I liked 3 of the 4 films quite a bit. The other one was just okay. I didn't care for it as much, but you got, there's Michelle Yeoh. And seeing early Michelle Yeoh kicking ass is really, really cool. She was awesome in these. And, you know, I can show you a couple of the others here real quick. Pulling them out here. That one. That's the, and you got In the Line of Duty 3. I think that's the one I didn't care for as much. And then In the Line of Duty 4. That one was pretty good. I enjoyed that. So it was just a really fun box set. Oh, there's a poster there. This is from 88 Films, by the way. And yeah, you get a nice, pretty thick book with this. I'd say, I don't know, 40, 50 pages maybe. And yeah, just a great little set. Did I get that right? 88 Films? Yes, 88 Films. So if you're like me, you've been getting into martial arts films, but your experience with martial arts is somewhat limited, but you like the martial arts crime action, crime drama vibe, then this is something I would definitely recommend checking out. It was so much fun. And yeah, I just had a lot of fun with it. It was an absolute blast. And this is one of those sets where I was like, yeah, this is one of the better box sets I picked up in terms of a blind buy, right? Having never seen any of these movies, I just took a total chance with this. And I got to say, it's one of the better box sets I picked up of that sort in terms of a blind buy. So, and these are all Blu-ray, no 4K here. So yeah, but if you're into martial arts films, the martial arts crime action genre with Michelle Yeoh and Cynthia Rothrock, this might be one you want to check out at some point. So yeah, In the Line of Duty box set. Okay, so that about wraps it up for my favorite blind buy releases on physical media. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. What do you think of the titles I've chosen today? Are there any of these titles that have piqued your interest? And or do you agree with me that they're the stellar releases that I think they are? I always look forward to hearing from you guys, so make sure you leave some feedback in the comments below. Also, don't forget to like the video and subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Thank you so much for watching today, guys. I really appreciate your support, and I'll see you soon.